I did want to come to you today and talk to you and introduce Taylor to you. Taylor Cook is a good friend of mine now that we just met. Couple months back, I guess we started this conversation. And Taylor Cook is a National American Academy of Sports Medicine personal trainer, which is actually who I went through as well when I was personal training. They have a great course if you're looking to get into personal training. I really do recommend it. That they had a wonderful overview just to get you aware of the body and what it's capable of and where you need to go with that. So Taylor has that background, so we're similar in that nature. We both started in personal training, and guess what? She hopes to one day become a physical therapist. So we started this conversation about networking and how working with the doctor of physical therapy to basically enhance your personal training relationships and make sure the clients get the most out of where your one-on-one time with them. Let's get into that. Well, I gave you a brief introduction. I'm not sure how much you heard about that, but go ahead and tell everybody, just a little bit about you and where you come from, what your background is.
So I am a South Texas girl. And like I said, I'm very into the wilderness outdoors, but also more importantly, I am really into health and fitness. It is actually what I live and breathe, almost to the point
Yep.
to people in my life. They're like, but that's just because I feel like it is the end all be all of everyone's life. And more importantly, I view fitness as fun. And I think that there is a lot to learn about our bodies. And I was hoping in this conversation to kind of, again, my mission through fitness is to help people realize that it's actually easy, it's natural,
Mhm.
and it shouldn't be overcomplicated. And so that's my ideal with connecting with individuals like you, is to answer questions and help people understand that health and wellness is so much easily attainable once you pursue the right people in the industry, right? Um,
Yeah.
so with me, I obviously am more of a mental health advocate because that's where my fitness journey started. I actually battled with anxiety and depression, and I had
Yeah.
no idea until I started, starting my fitness journey. And then all these answers started happening, and I became a personal trainer. And now I'm myself achieve their
Yeah. And I love the part of your story that you found answers by looking for them, right? And that, as simple as that sounds, like sometimes we are faced with a problem and we just wait for that answer to pop in our lap, but you actively go out and pursue, what's happening, what's going on, how can I improve this myself, naturally, holistically, and I think that's just another area that we both really, really resonate with together.
Absolutely. You're never gonna, I always tell people, you're never gonna know something you don't know, right? You have to go out there, you have to figure it out for yourself. And then on top of that, you need the professionals in the industry to help do what they're designed to do and you lead you in
Yeah.
the direction. Um, so I have a lot of clients that I deal with who, will say, I used to do a squat like this, for instance, and now I'm finding out that that wasn't necessarily the right way to do it. And then they feel like really bad about it. And I always have to reassure them. I'm like, you can't know something you didn't know, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
to help you find out how to do the best squat. So you have to get the information, and that's why I think individuals like you and me are doing things like this, where we're getting up early in our day and we're helping people get information. So now people from New York down to Texas can help find answers today on this awesome Wednesday. So yeah,
There you go. Yeah, it is a journey, and I think we have to like embrace that journey. That hey, I didn't know things that were going to come up around this corner. If we went on a hike, for example, right? You really don't know what's ahead of you. That's kind of the beauty of the hike. Is I've always got my eyes peeled. I'm looking around in a 360 degree. I've got an idea of where my destination was, but how many great views do you see along a really awesome hike that you just didn't know was there? You learn a little bit as you're kind of going, getting your footing on some rocky or uneven terrain. Maybe you take some breaks along the way because that's what it takes to get somewhere really far. And that's all okay. And it's a beautiful and fun process, right? And you have to find enjoyment in that process. Otherwise, the end goal really wasn't worth it.
I agree
So
100%.
let's hit goal setting for a minute. I think that is probably one of the big areas in your life. I know it is in my life. But when you come to like helping clients set goals, what are some of the most common goals that you see
Ooh,
clients have?
I'm so happy you asked this question. Well, I am located in a region where health and fitness honestly isn't as common as I feel like it should be. So, a majority
Hmm.
of my clients, I will sit down with, and they are, looking for weight loss or muscle gain. And I'm the type of trainer, and I know not all trainers are like this, but I work through a commercial gym, so I get clients kind of designed and not designed designated to me, and they're like, okay, you're going to be working with this person. And I think a lot of trainers from that point are just like, okay, well, I'll give them a killer workout, we'll just work out,
Right.
we'll work. The first session, I actually say, okay, sit down, you're going to tell me your three fitness goals, and three is my magic number because it always goes, okay, one is I want to lose weight, or I want to tone up, some sort of losing
Yep.
weight.
Right.
I want to gain muscle, like I want to get stronger. And then the third one, they look at like three, like, so people's goals are, designated around losing weight and gaining muscle because that's all they know, right? So then it
Right.
becomes my job to be like, fitness is so much more than just losing weight and gaining muscle. Do you want to establish a healthy routine? Do you want to learn healthier eating habits? Do you have, maybe you feel like your right leg's stronger than your left leg. Are you trying to balance out imbalances? Do you
Hmm.
inspiration for your friends or your kids? Or, there's always a third goal that people are like, I don't know. And in all honesty, more times than none, that third goal ends up being the goal that gets them more than what
Hmm.
weight loss and muscle gain can only last so long, right? So like crazy, you can gain all this strength and then you fall off track for 6 months. You lost some of it, but what's going to come back is that third goal. Your third goal was to establish a healthy routine. Well, in 6 months, whenever you're struggling to get back on top of things, you've already worked towards a goal of establishing a healthy routine, so you know how to reestablish a healthy routine.
Right.
Fall off. So
Right.
always three goals whenever you're setting any sort of fitness journey. It kind of helps you understand a little bit that more going on your fitness. But those are the two that I see the most common with people.
Totally. Totally. So you go back to the principles that you learned throughout your, fitness journey, working with you, and those are the things that you can reapply then to get those same results at any point in time, right? Kind of picking up where you left off, if we do fall off the wagon or need to reestablish ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think what I find with my clients in setting goals, big long term goals, is that why. Because it's not enough to have a goal, have a number, have a body fat percentage or anything like that without the why. You got to know why it matters. Why do we need to get out of bed on those days that we just don't want to get out of bed and do anything else?
Yeah.
Or, we're busy and, you're making time at 5 a.m. to get this crazy workout in. Or doing the little things that matter when it's so easy to pick up something quick, other than like, taking that pre-made healthier, option for a meal.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Man, that's good stuff. Um, how does serving people and serving clients help you?
Oh, I mean, just beyond the general satisfaction of it, I get more like happiness from people hitting their goals than I do of myself hitting my goals. Don't get me wrong, I love hitting my goals, and there's a celebratory party every time I do. But like when my
Hmm.
clients hit their goals, I'm like taken away. I'm like, the world needs to stop right now and look at this. Like, um, uh, when someone hits goals, I'm happy for them. Um, I'm on a bigger mission. It's
Yeah.
not a train. They are everything to me, but it's what's going to happen when those numbers start adding up. It's all
Mhm.
that I'm making. We live, honestly, I hate, even though there's a lot of health and fitness in the world right now, there's not enough. We live in a really unhealthy society. Medications are put over healthy exercise and good nutrition. And that's my goal, is to understand
Yeah.
we're in way more control over our health and our kids' health and their kids' health than we are taking account for. So
Oh my
um,
gosh. Yeah.
when someone hits goals, I'm like, that's one step closer to making the world healthier for everyone for years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, there's a couple things that I want to see if we can elaborate on a little bit, but I love where you're going. Um, First off, how do you celebrate if somebody hits a goal? What's that celebratory process look like for you guys?
Well, first off, there's the cheerleader part where I'm like jumping up and down. I'm like, wait, simple as someone getting a workout in, like someone who I sit down with, and it's especially the very beginning stages of our training, but someone sitting down and saying, I have I have a challenge getting the workout in. It's the, I can't schedule the time for it. And so within the first couple of weeks, once we get the program started and, you know, they're working out, I'm jumping up and down. I'm like, whoop, whoop, like you go, girl. That's awesome. And then also on top of it, it's an embellishment of how the person is feeling. Then it turns into me being like, okay, how did it feel? How did the workout feel? You know, even afterwards, how did you sleep that night? Like it's this whole embellishment of what that one thing did to change
Right.
around you. So,
Love that. That's really cool. That's really cool. You're absolutely doing some great stuff there.
like I have to of celebrating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We got to celebrate those wins. Got to celebrate those milestones, for sure. Yeah, I think that was something that I didn't do personally enough, and it was always push to the next thing, push to the next thing, push to the next thing, and just stopping and being grateful for that opportunity to push, being grateful for that, that next success. That's huge. It's huge for the
Yeah,
mindset, and to get that snowball of success rolling. I
yeah,
like it.
I agree. And I like snowball. That's cool. I like that.
If you come to New York, you'll get enough of them.
Oh, no thanks. No,
Yeah, it's a little chilly.
I like
Uh,
so
so the other part of that question you kind of mentioned is that unhealthy society that we're in,
yeah.
and stopping the pain medication as a first resort, stopping all these treatments that we already know they're research based that they are not the best way to go. It is really for musculoskeletal pain, for low back dysfunction, for knee, hip, shoulder, neck, any of that. We know that exercise and movement training is really the first thing that should be done. And yet it's not. And that's not coming from the clients, coming from the patient, that's coming from the doctor. And so I think one of the big things about this is that we have to change that conversation, because you have to go into your doctor with a plan, with the right questions to ask. And that is, don't fix the pain. It is, okay, what caused it? What's going on? How can I treat this holistically? How can I incorporate this into my fitness regimen to help myself improve and overcome?
Yeah. And I definitely agree with you, especially with having a plan going to your doctor. I think that maybe we as humans need to start questioning what it is about us that makes us more inclined to pick the easier and quick fix, or to be
Mm-hmm.
lazy with our planning process per se. I think we need to figure out what it is about us that makes us like that, so that way we can address the problem from the root of it, right? And I take
Right.
that from a fitness standpoint as is, because if you're experiencing lower back pain, for instance, I tell people a lot, and I don't know the exact statistic, but lower back pain can actually be caused by tight hamstrings. So if you know, loosened up your tight hamstrings, you might feel a alleviation in some of the pain. Of course, if you have injuries and stuff, totally separate case. Like, don't, I'm not specialized in that manner, but and I will notice for myself, like days that my lower back is tight, I'll sit down, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stretch out my hamstrings, and I'll feel a little bit of pressure relieved. And so, and it's just not going and taking the Aleve. Like, I didn't come home and I'm like, oh, my back hurts, I'm gonna take some Aleve. Like, that's the quick fix, and then I'm gonna lay down on the couch and wait 30 minutes. And instead, I moved my body, I took charge. And so I'm really curious, and maybe it's something to look into, on what makes humans so inclined to do the quick fix and not plan. So I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. We do often take the path of least resistance, but the path of resistance is growth, and that's where we have to recognize what we're doing, what we're going for, and again go back to the why. You know, can I understand this more, or do I really just want to keep popping these pills that are tough on the organs?
Yeah.
And if you already have a family history of anything else going on, pushing that aside to the next thing, pushing, and sweeping it under the rug, so to speak, it's going to add up eventually. Uh-oh, might have had a connection issue. Well, that is a dang shame. Let's see if Taylor hops back on here in just a moment, guys. That was going absolutely in the direction I was hoping this talk would go to. Talking about goals, talking about moving forward. But the next thing was going to be coming up and changing that client mindset to understanding their problem and getting the education they need to have a game plan to alleviate or affect those pains. What brings it on? What can I do to inhibit that from coming on? And then, finally, what's my game plan for really getting rid of it consistently once and for all? And that will just grow with you and become part of your fitness journey. One of the big things that Taylor and I really worked with. There it is. There she is. Let's get her back in here.
I'm so sorry. The
Technology. We just need a reset, right?
Yes, I apologize.
It's all good. You can't control everything. So I love the direction that this conversation is going, right? Taking that mindset, changing the frame, changing the questions that we ask so we better understand everything that's happening here. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
When you're talking to clients, do you notice anything specific that kind of consistently comes up when they're talking about their biases and maybe why they would choose the Aleve over movement, or why they may not be thinking about asking the questions about what's causing this to consistently happen?
Time. People seem too busy. And oh man, I really love to argue with that one because I live a very busy life to the point where, friends and family, they ask me out to dinner and I'm time after time having to unfortunately turn it down and say, I have a training client, or I unfortunately need to catch up on rest. I've been up since 5 a.m., and I know that you can make the time whenever it's that important to you. That I know that life is short, but I feel like we can always sacrifice maybe a 2 to 6 month period to improve our overall life. It's about sacrificing the now for the future, right? And a lot of people don't want to do that. And so I get a lot of the I don't have time. And unfortunately, I'm like, but if you sacrificed the time to go out to eat, or if you sacrifice the time to watch your weekly show, or if sacrificed, the time to, maybe do a self-care routine, like maybe you're doing a longer shower. Maybe if we, took a shorter shower and went to the gym or something along those lines, you might be able to address other problems. So I think time is the biggest restriction that I see with people.
Yeah. Yeah. When I hear that, I often go back to the schedule. So what does your schedule look like? Not the things that you think that you have to do, but do you actually plan out your day? Do you use a scheduler? Do you use an app? Do you use a calendar? What does that hour by hour look like in the day?
Yeah.
And when we start laying that stuff out, I find that, look at that 45 minutes right there, just sitting there asking for you to do something. Where did it go? Because we'll find things to do to fill up our to-do list. I mean, people stay busy, but we're doing whatever's in front of us, maybe the easier way out, and not really regimenting on what's going to move us forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I really love the whole scheduler or planner idea. I started using one maybe about a year ago, and I have to say it absolutely changed my life. Like I'm able to just go about things so much easier, and it's worth it 100%. So yeah, right there with you.
That couple bucks for, write it down, know what you're going to do the day before,
Even if like piece of notebook paper, you can write down like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11, all, your closing time. And yeah, you don't even need to go get a fancy one. If that's what brings you happiness and makes you more consistent, then do it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that the consistency with being, consistency with that and sticking to the plan, other than just doing the next thing on your list, is really, really tough. But it makes a world of a difference in how productive you are and how much you accomplish.
Absolutely.
So when when you see somebody who maybe picks up an injury, they're having a little bit of trouble with their lower back. You try a few things, you kind of hit the drawing board again with them. What do you have a couple go-to things, or do you have a point where you say, okay, this is the time where we need to send you back to the doc, or to send you to somebody to get looked at?
So I am never going to work outside my scope of practice. And my scope of practice as of right now, I am certified as a personal trainer. I am certified as a group fitness instructor, and I have a certification in a business course. So those are my three things. I'm right now working on a performance enhancement, which is targeted to athletes. And then I'm working on a nutrition coach. And then after that, I will do corrective exercise. When I do the corrective exercise, I'll have a little bit more knowledge on how to correct imbalances, but not necessarily injuries. Imbalances come from injuries, so I can work in a sense with the recovery process. But if I have someone who's told me, first off, like I said, when I get a client, I sit down and I ask them, what are your 3 fitness goals? The next question is, do you have any injuries, or have you experienced any injuries that I need to know about before training you? Because I don't like training someone for 2 weeks and then they say, oh, by the way, I got steel rods put in my, tibia like 2 months ago. And I'm like, what? You should have told me. Because at any point I could say, I'm going to challenge you with a workout that I think your body might be capable to handle. And unfortunately, it's not because of, the restrictions it's gone through. And that's okay. That doesn't mean we can't still exercise, but that means I'm not going to have you do jump squats. I'm going to have you do regular squats with a calf raise. Like, it changes the dynamic of how we're going to proceed with our training. So when someone
Absolutely.
me and they said, I've had A, B, and C injury, my first line of question is, okay, how did we handle said injury? Did we go to the doctor? Did we go to physical therapy?
Hmm.
How long ago was that? And have we fully recovered, or are we still experiencing pain and discomfort? And if I have, and I haven't, thankfully, with a client one day that is still experiencing pain from maybe a back injury, that would go into saying, okay, I still would love to train you, but I'm going to avoid a wide variety of exercises, and it might be in your better interest to work with a physical therapist or a PTA, someone who has experience in this field that can still give you exercises, but is going to be able to not only exercise you, but also heal you. And I'm very big about directing people in the direction they need to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just kind of knowing where that, and it can be a very, very gray line where, it is between a physical therapist, a doctor, an osteopath, or a personal trainer. Like, which of these specialties do you need right now? Um, and I love this conversation because if you've been personal training for a few years now, right? You've got a few years experience under your back.
Yes.
Have you ever been contacted by a doctor or a physical therapist to say, hey, this is the game plan?
Um, no, I haven't, unfortunately. A lot of my training that I did, a good year and a half of my training, I was in, and this is why I'm actually so passionate about this conversation right now. I worked
Mm-hmm.
in a weight loss program that was targeted through cardio kickboxing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly so sad to think back on how many people we have with injuries that came in there, and we would just train them anyways. We would just
Right.
put them in this intense hit program, and there was never any contact to the doctor, never any doctor release. There was anything like that on. And
Yeah.
recently, looking back as a professional in the industry now, because I wasn't certified then, I'm really ashamed that that's the way the business was run, because that's what I see as the problem. Is you have all these niche studios popping up at this moment in time, and a lot of them are bringing people in and getting them healthy, which is amazing. I'm like, that's amazing. That's what the goal is. But
Right. Right.
special individuals, those are the ones that need to be told, okay, this program might not be the best fit for you and your body. Um, that's the difference
Yeah.
that everything.
Yeah, for sure. You got to know what's going to be the right next step for you, and people don't know that, and that's where that's why we pay hundreds and thousands of dollars and dedicate our lives to studying this stuff so that we can guide people in the right direction. Hey, Katie, how are you? um it is it's super, super important to be able to do that for people. And like you said, when I was a personal trainer, never once did I ever hear from a doctor, physical therapist, even as a PT, I write notes to doctors all the time saying, hey, this is a big red flag. Like, we need to check this out. You know how often as a physical therapist, I actually get a response from the doctor? Maybe 5%.
Wow.
Maybe. There is not the communication that people expect at this level of healthcare. And it just doesn't exist. And so people need to recognize that they really do. Hey, Steve, how's it going? These people need to be their own best advocate with stepping up to the plate and asking the hard questions or getting the printout or, the other thing I hear often, oh, can't you just see that in my chart? No. We all work with electronic medical records. Those records don't go in between facilities. So it may as well be a paper record that doesn't follow you anywhere else, and you have to expect that it doesn't go. It's not easy.
Wow.
So
I'm
that's
surprised that there's not more communication from doctors to PTs. That really surprised me actually. I told you after we had our first conversation a couple weeks ago that I recently had someone that I worked with that I actually told her about you, and she was telling me about back pain and how she had a herniated disc. Sorry, still waking up. My mouth is moving faster than my brain. Telling me about this injury and how she went to physical therapy, and then she was telling me about how unsatisfied she was with her physical therapist, and
hmm
I just felt like we did some resistant band work and it didn't help anything. And one, I mean, I guess it is a individual to individual basis on how that physical therapist handled her client or their clients. But
Sure.
it could very well have been that the doctor just didn't communicate the customers or clients' needs to that physical therapist. Therefore, they didn't know how to help that person. But again, it does come down to us as professionals getting to know the people and understanding their needs as well. But
Completely.
I told her about you guys, and
Thank you.
yeah, and if you weren't satisfied with that physical therapist, I know a great one. So there you go.
There are others out there. There are people who are using science-based, the latest research-based techniques, and the way that we do that, really just a quick shout out for our business, is we actually take the way that you move, get you to understand where the deficits are, add those back into your life, and incorporate them into your movement training. So it's not just that you're getting 3 sets of 10 for whatever, clamshells or bridges or anything like that, and then that's going to fix it. You actually really have to control these muscles when you do certain movements. Like, actually bring them on, because in so many instances, we all hear of inhibited or overactive muscles and such, and correcting these imbalances. So what does that mean in your life, in the way that you walk, in the way that you lay down to bed, in the way that you squat? Can you consciously then use those muscles that we train to then do those movements better? And that's the secret sauce right there, that is different than a workout. It's education.
And I think Katie's agreeing with you. She's down there cheering us on. But yeah, I absolutely agree 100%. And I love your mindset in the business mindset that you guys have is understanding how one thing correlates to everything. What I resonated with was how you lay down in bed at night. I hear a lot, I go to sleep feeling fine and I wake up and, oh, my back hurts. Like I slept wrong. And I guess a lot of people, just throw themselves on the bed and they don't think, sitting in this crunched up position is going to, cause these muscles to become tight and some to become long. And that's where my profession comes in. And a lot of my CPT training was over muscle imbalances. And NASM has designed a beautiful program. It's called the OTP.
Mm-hmm.
And you work your way through correcting those imbalances into gaining strength. And that made me being trained like that. And again, I know there's different ways to do physical training and all that stuff. But being trained in that way really changed the way I view how a lot of trainers do their programming. Because some people just throw, all right, you want to get strong? Get under the barbell. Let's go. Like,
Right.
there's a lot of work to be done, even with
Yeah.
even with somebody who's been doing it for years. There's a lot of work to be done into gaining, balance over the body, and make sure that your right side is moving as efficiently as your left side. You don't
Right.
have this imbalance because guess what? That's what causes injuries. And that's what puts people like you in business and puts more people in business. So, and that's what I really hope that people like us working together can help correct overall. But
Totally, totally. And when we get trainers like you who are like really about the client and the client's success and looking at the entire body as a system, if there is something that pops up out of the scope, I feel like that's where we can really utilize direct access to just enhance the client journey and not skip a beat. We take a little road bump and we just make it a little blip on the radar other than this big setback. Well, now I can't train you anymore. Now you need to go see your doctor or a physical therapist. And really most times they'll go doctor, x-ray, pain medication, then somewhere down the road, physical therapist. And now you've lost all that momentum that you were just gaining, all those successes that were piling up and snowballing forward. That's a big hiatus for something that we can actually immediately work together on. So direct access, for anybody who doesn't know, is your ability to work directly with a physical therapist without a doctor's prescription. And that's really awesome.
yeah, and you know what you just said really like keyed into something that I have a huge passion over. And I love the medical industry. Plus, we could not have, you know, the health that we do without it and all that stuff. But I've always been a huge advocate that sometimes the steps that they take are a little over necessary.
Yeah.
I got into a accident a couple years ago. I fell off the back of a four-wheeler and knocked unconscious. I woke up in the ambulance and they were like, yeah, did you know that you fell off? And I was like, nope, I am
Nope.
here.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was not pretty, but I thank God I'm alive. Like I was okay.
For sure.
Feel that there was like a bump on my head, and so you know when we got into the hospital, you know they were like, we wanting to do a head scan, we're wanting to do a body scan, we're wanting to do all these things, and I'm like, okay, let's start with a head scan because one, I can feel I hit my head. Let's make sure that we're all good there. But I was like, I wiggled my toes, I wiggled my fingers, kind of moved my legs around, I kind of moved my torso. I was like sore, but I'm alive. Like I'm okay. I don't know if I need a whole body scan, and I know that that can go both ways. Now, if I, you know, tweak my knee in a couple months, it could possibly bend from that. But there's also, again, steps that you can take. If I tweak my knee in a couple months, I can come to you and I say, okay, what are exercises I can do to get myself back on my feet? Instead of spending, what would it have been, $5,000 to get a body scan?
It's a big deal. That's a lot of money.
It's a big deal. I'm 24. I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, here you go.
So,
The wonderful health insurance covering all my medical needs. No,
oh,
they
yeah.
don't do that.
A lot of people don't. I don't think I had health insurance at the point in time, to be honest with you.
I didn't have it at 24 either.
That was a couple years ago. I was 21, and not everybody has health insurance, which I think it's important to get health insurance. Don't don't take my word for that. But yeah, I believe that the medical industry, I think it reels people into one, obviously spending a lot of money that may not be necessary, but two, you know,
Right.
take all these unnecessary steps before we can even present maybe a more simpler solution. Because I'm sure 9 times out of 10, you never would hear a doctor say, you should go see a physical therapist for that. So,
Directly, right.
you know,
Yeah, everywhere that I have worked, and we have worked all over the country, from Iowa to California to Texas to New York and Pennsylvania, every single place I go, I always tried to form these relationships with doctors. I thought that early on in my career, I said, hey, well, I'll call up all the doctors, I'll introduce myself, they'll see the results I'm getting. Well, you know, the honest truth is they're too busy, they're bogged down. I rarely, like I said, get those callbacks. And it's not the way that things are working right now. So the way that I see for people to be successful is for them to be their own best advocate. And if they know that they can get PT first for a musculoskeletal injury, so back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, hip pain, any of those like normal aches and pains of the body, let's knock them out.
yeah.
And yeah, so especially if you're working with a great trainer already, like Taylor, like let's all jump on a call. So that's one of the things that we suggest and offer is, you know, especially in this abundance mindset. There are a lot of people out there to help. I want to empower you and empower your clients to add this rehab program to your training program, and then their injury is fixed and you're still moving forward.
Absolutely. I love your mindset, Nick. You've got it down for sure.
Well, I just want to work with more people like you who really understand the importance of networking, who understand the importance of just taking that person's needs as first, right? It's not that if you ask for help that you're a bad personal trainer. That's the exact opposite. You're actually an amazing personal trainer if you reach out to somebody for help for an injury that you know that you're not qualified to handle.
Absolutely. And I agree with that 100%. And those are the people in the industry that at least I keep my eye out for, is the ones who um, no, I can do it myself. If my client has a problem, I'll fix it. Or, my training is the only way training should be done. And that's something I recognized whenever I got trained through NASM was the OPT model is a great model. I love it. I
Sure.
would train out of it. But if you've got another way of doing things, let's talk about it. Why do you do it like that?
Right.
Grow from you. And I'm not going to sit here and say that my way of training is only individual to NASM. NASM is they take 90% of my training tactics, but there's a slight 10% where I incorporate my mental health advocacy is all,
Mm-hmm.
all things that I've learned on my own. They have a mental health specialization that you can get. I haven't gotten it yet, but a lot of the stuff that I do is, from me. And when people come to me and they say, well, I have a client who's battling with depression, what's something I can do or what's something I can say, then that becomes my specialty in being able to say, oh, we'll do A, B, and C. And then, other things that I know. I'm not the end all be all with nutrition. I actually don't know if you've seen a couple of my posts, but I'm really big, just as I am with going to a physical therapist for an injury, going to a nutritionist for a diet plan. A lot
Yeah.
of things go out of their scope of practice to give people meal plans. We are not certified to do that. We are not
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, don't
Yep.
don't take meal plans from a trainer. Take a meal plan from a dietitian who's been trained, who can help you long term.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Learn about those foods. I like it. I like it. I like it. I love it. Very cool. Well, what do you think? I guess kind of getting close to our wrapping up spot in this conversation. What do you think are some of the big takeaways that you realize or just want to leave people with today?
I think that, again, like I said before, we need to find within ourselves what makes us resistant, right? You said we're going to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
To find our reason, like you said, the reason why we would want to be resistant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your reason? What's your reason why? Why are you doing this? Why are you listening to
Yeah.
us about health and fitness? Why are you waking up why do you want to wake up at 6 a.m. and get your workout in? And then why are you not, right? You've got to compare the two, and you've got to understand that one is truly more important than the other. But that's going to be my professional choice, is to trust you to make the right one. So
Yeah.
that would be, I think, one of the biggest takeaways. There's a lot of things to take away from this conversation, but one of the biggest takeaways is your reason why, and making sure that you are planning strategically, if it's seeing a doctor or seeing a trainer or seeing a physical therapist or going to a nutritionist, anybody in the fitness and health industry. Plan out strategically what it is you want to accomplish through them, what your goals are, and don't just go and do training because someone told you to. You need to,
Right.
that is your best choice for your needs. So.
Yep. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. I think you nailed it and knocked that one out of the park there, Taylor. Really, really great job. Yeah. Well, guys, if you want to know more about Taylor, want to work with her, want to understand NASM or anything else, have any questions about that, please, please, please comment below. Thank you guys for jumping on and watching. We really appreciate that. And just let's help to change this conversation, right? Move this stuff forward. Other healthcare professionals, if you guys want to jump into a network or know some great people, we would love to partner with you and just keep helping more people. That's the big mission, right?
Absolutely.
You guys have a great day. Taylor, thank you so much again for jumping on and having this conversation with me. I really appreciate it.